Hi, my name is Brittany Burns, and this is my teacher work sample from EDU352. I did my student teaching in Browning, Montana, which is on the Blackfeet Reservation. 7% of the population receives TANF, and 35% of the population receives SNAP. Being that with those numbers, students may be coming from homes in which neither parent works, so they might not value hard work or try as much in school. I also, when I found those numbers, realized that Browning is the second highest on the list for receiving TANF for the state of Montana, which is alarming. The average household income is $21,000, 190, with close to 40% living in poverty. So with those numbers, students may not have very good living conditions at home, making it hard to focus on or really care about school. The school itself is Vinachat in its first grade. It is a Title I school, so they receive extra funding to help with interventions and things like that. The school scored within the bottom 5% on testing, so that extra money there is to make sure students are meeting educational goals. There is a focus and a plan to achieve those goals. The school has 81% that qualified for the free and reduced meals, which being that it's 81%, the whole school is given this. And so all students are receiving 2 nutrition meals at school as well as a snack during the day. So they don't have to worry about meals. They can focus more on the instruction without going hungry. The school also has a good medicine program and AltaCare. Good medicine program is a type of counseling in a way for traumatic experiences, focuses on Tier 2, Tier 3 students, and so with those two programs, students have access in school to mental health services that maybe they wouldn't have if it was up to parents. The contextual factors in the class and in the classroom, majority Tier 3 classroom makeup, so that is something to really take into consideration when planning these lessons. 18 students in the classroom, making it an even number for students to have partner talk. The classroom, every kid has access to their own Chromebook, which made it really easy during centers and testing because each student had their own Chromebook. We didn't have to, rotate. We didn't have to take turns. It wasn't anything like that. And the classroom itself had round tables. At first, I was like, I don't know about this. It takes up a lot of room. But the students really worked well with during group work and collaboration, and it made it easier for stations. So I liked the round tables. The teacher herself provided many models in Teacher Think Aloud and worked through examples and just really broke everything down step by step, which really allowed the students to understand the process in solving these, solving any problem, and made it more efficient for them to work independently. She also asks questions during and after instruction, which makes it easier to understand who is getting what and who needs extra instruction or just modifying the instruction based on the student's need, and also allowing them to use their critical thinking skills on how is this relating to something we already know, or how can I apply it in my future. Ms. Ziegler also guided students by practicing and modeling and providing examples, answering questions, giving explicit positive feedback. By doing that, the students felt more comfortable being able to work independently, knowing they can master the skill. So provide independent practice after guided practice. So with the guided practice, they work through everything. There's, that explicit positive feedback. It's just very thorough. So once students get to the independent practice, they're comfortable performing those skills, and it boosts their confidence, and they're able to complete the tasks on their own. Their engagement and their motivation increases as well. The standards is the Common Core, operations and algebraic thinking, basically everything we did in this TWS was the topic 1 about addition. Overview, students will explore addition through a variety of addition-related lessons in which students will practice spatial patterns for numbers to 10, learn ways to make 9, be introduced to writing addition sentences, work through story problems about joining, and learn to add in any order and how we can use objects to help us understand problems. The goal is that with the Envision Math curriculum, the small group instruction, and the math manipulative, students will understand addition with 75% accuracy as measured by a Pearson-created Topic 1 standard-based assessment. In the first lesson, we went over 2-part spatial patterns for numbers. So they basically, just by looking without having to count, how many's on this side, how many's on that side. We used dominoes, like big foam dominoes are the smaller ones, and then they figured out how many was there altogether. In lesson 2, we went over making 9. There was also lessons about making 6, making 7, making 8, but talking with my collaborating teacher, she let me know that, once a student is kind of able to understand that concept of making a number, it doesn't really matter what number you're applying it to. It's more the skill that we're looking for. So she helped me decide that it would be better just to do one of those lessons. Otherwise, it becomes a little repetitive. Lesson 3 was taking what we learned from the 2-part spatial patterns and how to make numbers and writing an addition expression for that in number sentences. Lesson 4 was stories about joining. So really looking into stories, listening to stories, and understanding the important parts, important vocabulary, important numbers, and circling them or underlining them, really getting them to search for their important parts, because at first grade, maybe they're not going to know all the words, and I stressed that to them. I just wanted them to not only look at the picture on the math mat, but understand exactly what they're going to be looking for in stories about joining. Lesson 5 was adding in any order, the commutative property. We used cubes. The students built them. We flipped them around and wrote another addition sentence for it. And I was actually super surprised how well the students caught on to that, and they did very well with it. Lesson 6, was using objects to solve problems. Students worked through and understood how we can use, the cubes, we could use the counters, we could use anything, we can use our fingers if we need to. How can we use things to take a story problem or any type of problem and figure it out? So just applying those skills to a problem. The framework I chose was stations, and I really, really loved this framework. The mini lesson lasted 10 to 15 minutes depending on, the students themselves and the lesson. I would introduce the lesson, model examples. We did some examples together on the front page of the math mat. Then we went into stations, usually about 15 minutes at each station. It would kind of vary within, the different groups and who needed more instruction or who needed less. So the teacher table, we did the inside of the math mat, and I chose a few problems for them to work on individually. The independent station, they finished those individual problems. Then they would get on Math Prodigy, which is a math application that you can basically choose the standard that they are working on, and all the questions are focused on that. Partner Station, they had games in their baskets that were specific to their needs. For example, like Tier 3 students would be focusing more on number sense and like the spatial pattern recognition and things like that. So the games provided in those were really specific to their group's needs. Then 5-minute wrap-up, we did a quick check. I chose a problem, and it was displayed either on the board or in front of the class, and the students worked through it on their own and asked any questions if they needed to. These were some of the games that were provided in the baskets. I had 3 baskets for the 3 groups, the red, green, and blue baskets, and they took their basket with them to every single station, and it worked out really well. Here are examples of the quick checks. They would just write down their problem on a sticky or in their answer, hold it up, and let me know when they were done. Here is an example of the assessment that was used. We used the Pearson online math tool to create this assessment. And then here are the outcomes, the pre to the post. So it's pretty evident that most students did, they really, really, really did well, and they increased, which let me know that the instruction worked. Here is kind of the number breakdown, but there was a gain score of 44%, which I was very happy with. My pre-instructional group went from 24% to 69%, which is a huge jump and made me very, very happy. And I feel like they really did well with it. They understood it, and they were confident in their abilities to add. They understood the language. They understood the different skills that they could use, and it worked out very well. Evidence-based practices that what worked for me, it was really effective to do the I do, we do, you do effect when teaching, modeling, showing them first, practicing together, and then letting them do that on their own. We used different math manipulatives, so some students liked using the cube, some thought they could just use their fingers, some wanted to use the counters. It was all up to them. For engagement, I think it was very important that I did the stations. It allowed them to get up and move and kind of get their wiggles out for first graders. They got to apply their math skills at different stations. So using technology in the games, and at the end, when they worked really hard and their brain needed a little kiss, we gave out brain kisses, which were Hershey kisses. Enhancing student success would be giving the immediate explicit feedback, the use of variety of math skills and strategies. Managing classroom climate would be grouping by level of understanding, the use of technology and games to apply skills and strategies, and strategies and skills to master. Just understanding more of the content, really getting into those standards and understanding them so I can teach them, maybe different ways if they're not understanding what the book is showing, and how to deliver that exact standard or skill to the student that is able for it, so they can understand it. But this is the overall of my TWS and my presentation, and I hope you enjoyed it.